day, everyone. This is Jennifer Casabar. Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I will be discussing restorative justice. So, what is restorative justice? Restorative justice is a theory of justice that emphasizes repairing the harm caused or revealed by criminal behavior. It is best accomplished through cooperative processes that includes all stakeholders. So when we say restorative justice, we are pertaining to what will be the reintegration or repair that we could provide to the injured party. Restorative justice is not a new concept. It represents a traditional view of crime by recognizing that crime hurt everyday people. Today, when a crime is committed, the government views that crime as a breach of state's law. However, restorative justice focuses on the injured victim. So, ibig sabihin, when we say restorative justice, hindi po siya nagfo-focus doon sa punishment na ibinibigay doon sa offender to have justice, but rather, we are focused on the injured victim as well as the broken law, and seeks to heal those injuries and restore, or ibalik the right order for the community, rather than solely offering retribution or punishment. Okay? So, like that paragraph said that restorative justice is not a new concept. Okay? It is representing the traditional view of crime, okay, that a crime could hurt people. Okay? So, kasi 'di ba sabi natin when crime committed, meron tayong nalabag na batas. But then, in restorative justice, we are more focused on the victim or the injured victim rather than giving punishment to the offender. Victims are involved and given a voice in every stage of restorative justice process. Offenders are held accountable or responsible to make things right with their victims through restitution and victim-offender mediation. Restorative justice recognizes that communities are also hurt by crime. Of course, if there is someone hurt with regards to commission of crime, hindi lang po yung taong yun ang nasasaktan, but rather the entire community. Dahil batas natin ang nava-violate. Okay? So, involves member of the community in determining the appropriate sanctions to be imposed and in restoring offenders back into the community when they have paid the price for their crime. So, by working to repair the damage they have caused to their victims, families, and communities, offenders develop the sense of responsibility, which is, yun yung pinaka-essential in leading a productive life. So, dapat, sabi dyan, ma-realize ng offenders natin yung sense of responsibility when they committed a crime. Okay? Which is, it will lead for them to a productive life upon their eventual return to the community or to the society. So, through these processes, restorative justice seeks to reintegrate both victim and also the offender to become a productive member of a safe community. So, ibig sabihin, hindi lang po na-favor ang restorative justice sa victim, but rather, doon din po sa mga offender natin. We are doing our best as part of the stakeholders in the community na maging productive din, not only the victim, but also the offender. Okay? So, is restorative justice a new idea? Okay? A restorative justice is simply a new name being applied to an age-old concept and tradition. In the last 2 decades, this manner of addressing harm has gained exposure and popularity as people become increasingly frustrated with the ineffectiveness of retributive and punishment-oriented approaches. Okay, di ba? We all know naman kasi na in this last 2 decades, yung mga tao sa community ay parang frustrated doon sa hindi magandang way ng pagbibigay ng justice sa mga victim kasi they are only focused on giving punishment. Kasi 'di ba, bakit nga ba there are offenders na kapag ka nakulong at na-serve ang sentence, pagkabalik sa community, ang nangyayari dyan, nagkukumit ulit ng crime. So, ibig sabihin, hindi nabibigay yung tamang essence or yung true essence ng pagbabago sa loob ng kulungan because they are just focused on punishment-oriented approaches rather than restoring the behavior of that offender as a law-abiding citizen. That's why restorative justice has been a practice for gestures across different cultures and faith communities. So with that, it may carry different names such as healing justice, biblical justice, transformative justice, and relational justice. So, matagal na talagang idea yung restorative justice na yan. Okay? It's just that new name lang new name lang siya or new term for that part. Okay? So, in many indigenous culture, natural way of approaching issues and does not designated nature. How is this biblically based? So, what about an eye for an eye? Diba sabi natin, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Sabi doon sa Hammurabi Code, which is the harsh punishment. Doon sa lex talionis, that an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Kumbaga, kung ano ang ginawa sa'yo, yun din yung gagawin mo doon sa offender. Okay? The God of the Bible is a God of shalom, like peace, right relationship. God is gracious and compassionate, slow to anger and abounding in love, and relents from sending calamity. That is on the part of Joel chapter 2 verse 13. So, passages in the Old Testament that suggest vengeance or yung paghihigante. Sabi dyan, vengeance is paghihigante. It must be read in the greater context of a merciful and loving God. To me belong vengeance and recompense. That is on the part of Jude chapter 32 verse 25. And you shall not take vengeance. Kasi sabi daw dyan ng Lord, wag ka daw maghihigante sa iyong kapwa. So let me be the one to take vengeance. Okay? And our themes that recur frequently in the Old Testament in addition, the practical intent and meaning of many Old Testament laws was on limiting retaliation. Linilimit lamang daw po yung pagbibigay ng retaliation or yung paghihigante, that is for an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, or a life for a life. So, kaya nga po nagkakaroon yung family feud. Remember nyo ba yung family feud? Diba kapag ka nagkaroon ng family feud during way back time, pagka may pinatay sa isang tribo, so just to take revenge to the family na pumatay doon sa member ng family nila, ang gagawin nila is papatayin din yung isang miyembro ng family nila. So with that, kapag may namatay naman sa family nila, papatay din sila doon sa kabilang family. So nagkakaroon na po ng non-stop na retaliation between the two clans or to family. Yun yung tinatawag nating an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Okay? It was prescribed as a limitation on retribution and a command to seek vengeance. Into the New Testament, the central message in Jesus Christ is one of the forgiveness and reconciliation, pagpapatawad at pakikipag-ayos. Okay? All this is from God who through Christ reconciled us to Himself and gave us ministry of reconciliation. That is under the second book of Corinthians, chapter 5, verse 18. The Christ who refused to endorse the stoning of woman taken in adultery would have us speak to the world of compassion, not vengeance. So therefore, as people of faith, we can be confident that the biblical call to justice is a restorative one, a one that seeks both accountability and healing. So there are three principles form the foundation of restorative justice. Number one, that justice requires that we work through the restoration of those who have been injured. So, syempre, we as the stakeholder of the community, we should work as one to restore the uh, justice in the part of the injured party. Okay? Number two, those most directly involved and affected by crime should have the opportunity to participate fully in the response if they wish. And lastly, a government's role is to preserve a just public order in the communities to build and maintain a just peace. So, conventional justice system, sometimes referred to as retributive justice, asks three basic questions. So, number one, what laws have been broken? Ano nga ba yung batas na linabag or na-violate? Who broke the laws or sino yung nag-commit ng crime or yung nanlabag ng batas? And how shall the lawbreaker be punished? Sa papaanong paraan nga ba mapaparusahan yung lawbreaker or yung nag-violate ng ating batas? So, those are the three basic questions asked in retributive justice. So, the fundamental questions of restorative justice, on the other hand, are, ito naman po yun. Kung retributive justice po yung kanina, ito naman po yung restorative justice. Who has been harmed? Sino ang biktima? Sino ang injured? Sino ang na-harm or nasaktan? How can these harms be addressed or repaired? So, paano nga ba mabibigyan ng healing yung harms na mga na-encounter ng ating mga biktima? And number 3, who should address or repair the harm? Sino nga ba ang mag-aayos ng mga harm na yon na na-experience ng ating mga victim? So, how will people learn right from wrong if we don't focus on punishment? Don't there have to be consequences for harmful actions? Diba? Totoo nga naman, diba? Paano nga ba matututo yung isang tao kung hindi mo bibigyan ng punishment or parusa? Kasi 'di ba, sabi sa restorative justice, we should focus on restoring the justice which is focused on injured party. Okay? And also for the offender to become a productive community stakeholder. Okay? Restorative justice is committed to direct accountability and healing what has been broken. So, as much as that is possible, in many cases, punishment is not what is needed to teach right from wrong. So, hindi daw po pagpaparusa ang kinakailangan para maitama mo yung pagkakamali, but rather, helping the wrongdoer or yung offender natin gain greater understanding on the impact of his or her action. So, hindi daw po pagpaparusa ang ibibigay natin sa mga wrongdoer or sa mga law violator, but rather, dapat daw may pamulat mo sa kanilang kaisipan yung impact ng kanilang mga actions. So, certainly, obligations are created when someone has caused harm and those obligations must be met. In doing so, however, the meeting of obligation must not be imposed as meting out pain. Hindi daw po yun pagbibigay ng pain or punishment sa offender, but rather, encouraging that person to take responsibility, okay, in ways that addresses the harm and help prevent further harmful behind it. Okay? So, ang dapat doon ipamulat natin sa mga offenders that dapat maging responsible sila sa kanilang magiging actions at nang sa ganon, ma-prevent nila yung mga further harmful actions na kanilang mga gagawin. So, what are the practices and programs reflecting restorative purposes will respond to crime by identifying and taking steps to repair harm, involving all stakeholders, and also transforming the traditional relationship between communities and their governments in responding to crimes. So, what are the programs and outcomes typically identified with restorative justice? So, we have victim-offender mediation, we have conferencing, we have circles, we have also victim assistance, ex-offender assistance. Of course, they need it so that they will be able to cope up with their intervention, with their adjustment in the community, restitution, and also community services. Restorative programs are characterized by 4 key values. So these are the following. We have encounter, number 2, amends, number 3, reintegration, and number 4 is inclusion. So when we say encounter, we need to create opportunities for victims, offenders, and also community members who want to do so to meet to discuss the crime and its aftermath. So, dapat magkaroon po tayo ng mga organization na pwedeng magbigay ng opportunity sa mga victims, sa mga offenders, and also sa mga community members to meet and discuss what is crime and what is its aftermath. Amends. Expect offender to take steps to repair the harm they have caused. Reintegration. Seek to restore victims and offenders to whole, contributing members of society. And lastly, provide opportunities for parties with a stake in specified crime to participate in its resolution. So, that's the end of our discussion for our last chapter entitled Restorative Justice. So, thank you for watching and have a good day. Stay safe.